Lawmakers are pushing for answers about the deadly attack on the nation's capital. FBI Director Christopher Wray was faced with questions like whether the agency is to blame for security failures that occurred on January 6th. He says nearly 500 people have been arrested in connection with the insurrection, and there could be many more to come. Skyler Henry reports on the new extremist threats.
Two House committees held dueling hearings examining the January 6th storming of the U.S. Capitol. Witnesses faced tough questions from the oversight panel over the delayed deployment of National Guard troops in response to the attack.
You both recommended that the National Guard deploy to protect other federal buildings.
They did not have their riot control gear with them. We had to get them back to the Armory. We had to reconfigure them and re-equip them to get them forward.
Before the House Administration Committee, the U.S. Capitol Police Inspector General laid out the findings in his fourth flash report. In it, he said Capitol Police response teams did not have adequate training and questioned the appropriateness of using one private facility, Northern Red Training.
There are better options of doing training.
The report also found the agency lacked proper operating procedures, including for securing equipment. As a result, 12 ballistic vests and 12 ballistic helmets were stolen by rioters. These hearings come after a recently released FBI assessment warned that followers of QAnon conspiracy theories could be motivated to commit acts of violence against Democrats or other political opponents.
We cannot prevent every attack. The only way to find sustainable solutions is not only to disrupt and deter, but also to address the root causes of violence.
Tuesday, the Attorney General laid out the Biden administration's strategy to combat domestic terrorism, focusing on stopping recruitment and deterring violence. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The Director of Army Staff was also among those who testified at the House Oversight hearing today. Here's how Lieutenant General Walter Pyatt explains the Army's failed preparation leading up to the attack.
The Army's role on 6 January began as unarmed support by the D.C. National Guard to the Metropolitan Police. By midday, the mission had changed drastically to respond to the attack on the Capitol. That change in mission was unforeseen, and we were not positioned to respond with immediate support.
FBI Director Christopher Wray also said in his testimony that the agency considers the January 6th riot to be unacceptable, adding the FBI is determined to make sure an attack like that, quote, never happens again. For more, I want to bring in CBS News reporter Cassidy McDonald. She's following the Capitol riot investigation. Hi there, Cassidy. There have been several hearings investigating the January 6th attack. When might these proceedings wrap up?
Well, I can tell you that one person who you'll continue to hear from throughout the rest of this year, at least, is Capitol Police Inspector General Michael Bolton. He said that he is clearing his entire schedule for the rest of the year. He's committing himself exclusively to focusing on a review of the Capitol Police response to the January 6th attack. Now, he testified today about the Capitol Police Containment Emergency Response Team and also their first responders unit, and he cited some deficiencies with their planning and training. But he is also committing to issuing a series of flash reports every single month for the rest of the year. So far, he's looked at operational planning, intelligence gathering. We're also still expecting reports on topics like training, manpower, even the K-9 unit. So we'll still continue to hear from him at least through the end of the year. And we're also still expecting Inspector General reports from other agencies, watchdogs as well, including the Department of Defense and the Department of Justice. So still there are some remaining questions about these agencies, the potential issues that may have occurred leading up to the January 6th attack, and how they can reform in the future to ensure that this doesn't happen again. So still we can expect that the timeline for when these procedures might wrap up, we certainly don't see the end anytime soon.
Well, FBI Director Christopher Wray says there could be more serious charges coming in the investigation. Cassidy, do we have any idea what those charges could be, and how many people have been arrested and charged to date?
Well, so far, 480 people have been arrested, and the FBI is still looking for around 250 people who have been accused of assaults on officers and other violent acts on Capitol grounds. And remember that authorities have still also not arrested anyone in connection with those pipe bombs that were placed near the Democratic and Republican National Committee headquarters. So some of those violent cases are still unsolved. And the DOJ has also reminded us that complex criminal cases like the ones that yield conspiracy charges, those take time to build. And so we've seen action recently in some of those more complicated cases of assaults on officers and conspiracy. And we'll continue to see action in those cases moving forward.
Well, last week, the Justice Department indicted 6 California men, 4 of whom say they identify as members of the 3 Percenters. First, who are the 3 Percenters and what are these men accused of?
Well, the 3 Percenters are an extremist group, according to the Anti-Defamation League. They get their name from this false idea that 3% of Americans rose up against the British during the Revolutionary War. So they're likening today's U.S. government to the oppression of British colonialism. So prosecutors have indicted these 6 men on conspiracy charges. They say that this group planned a road trip, some of them from California to D.C. They say that in a group chat where they discussed some of their plans for January 6th, they said that their intention was to fight. And they also said that some of these men discussed plans to bring weapons to the Capitol. One of the men was charged with having a knife in his pocket as he was in this crowd that pushed past the police line. Elaine.
So what is the significance of these conspiracy charges, Cassidy?
Well, 2 things stand out from this indictment. First of all, prosecutors made a point that these men made their plans directly after then President Trump, called for his followers to protest the results of the presidential election. One of those defendants, Russell Taylor, took a tweet. He took a link to Donald Trump's tweet that was promoting the rally that was planned for January 6th. He sent it to the group and he posed the question, who's going? Now, the second key takeaway from this indictment, it includes one very early mention of an intention to target the Capitol. So that same defendant, Russell Taylor, he sent in an encrypted message all the way back on December 29th. He said that he personally wanted to be on the front steps, Elaine, and he said that he wanted to be one of the first to breach the doors.
Well, what other extremist groups have been indicted on conspiracy charges in connection to the Capitol attack?
The 3 Percenters are the 3rd extremist group to be cited in a conspiracy indictment. So already federal prosecutors have charged 16 alleged Oath Keepers in a single conspiracy indictment. And they've also charged 15 Proud Boys, either members or affiliates of the Proud Boys. And that's in 4 separate conspiracy cases. So that's a total of 35 alleged extremists who have been charged with conspiracy in the Capitol riot investigation. And those defendants, Elaine, all face varying levels of allegations about the amount of planning that they took prior to January 6th.
And this investigation far from over. Cassidy McDonald for us. Cassidy, thank you very much.
Thank you.